That's a good start for being in the secret basement at Wildwood Guitars.
Not bad.
This is the secret basement.
It is.
We are surrounded by history.
We are. I'm David Grissom. This is my good friend Paul Reed Smith here at Wildwood Guitars.
So we're here to talk about your DGT model, and then secondarily about this amp you're playing through that fed back just fine.
Yeah.
By the way, that was a first take. That's the way he plays. That's not like the fifth time in. That was the way this thing started. That's cool.
Oh, I practiced that whole thing though on the way up on the plane.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, I'm playing my signature model DGT. And incidentally, I never carry one with me on the road when I come to do these things because I have confidence that when I get to the store, it's going to be, they're so consistent that I'm always comfortable playing whatever is in stock. And we have 2 or 3 of them over here, and I just went over and picked up one, and you got one, and I think it really speaks to the craftsmanship of the company.
You know, David, for those of you who don't know David, his honesty and his integrity is #1, and if he didn't like this one, he would say something about it, he'd put it down, pick up another one. And I think that that's incredibly important, because when you say, hey, look, this is my SIG model, and people email you or they blog you and they're asking, is this the deal? You're telling them this is the deal, because it'll do what you just did for the first time.
Right.
Part of the problem is a lot of this is in the hands, right? But if you don't have the right tool to do your job, you're not going to get there.
Well, I mean, so much of, I mean, it's true. A lot of, a great deal of our tone is in our hands, but we need to have, I mean, especially for me, the longer I play, the more I'm inspired by better instruments. And the better the guitar, the better the amplifier, the better I play. And, you know, it's so rewarding to, I've been doing this a long time, and then when you find a tool that allows you to express yourself and realize the sounds that I hear in my head and my heart, you know, that I want to communicate, it's really important. I mean, it's really rewarding. So, you know, and I tell you, you know, we worked on this guitar for a long time, and we joke about it a lot, but this guitar, I've been working with this company for 25 years. And people ask me how long it took to design the guitar, and honestly, it took 25 years. And it's been a relationship which has been really rewarding at times. How do I put this?
Difficult.
We've gone to the mat about a couple of things.
I don't think we've ever yelled at each other. I don't think we're really angry, but I think a couple of times, I remember one time at the whiskey, your amp blew up on you. I think you weren't mad at me at the time, but you were not pleased this amp had fried. I actually went in the back of the amp after the show. The glass and the tubes had melted down into the bottom of the amp. Right?
Well, I'll take that as a compliment.
Yeah.
No.
Experiences of a gunslinger, right?
It's. I mean, our relationship is mutual respect.
Yeah,
I think, no doubt about it. And I joke about Paul having the relentless pursuit of tone, to the extent which, I mean, I can be having dinner with my wife somewhere, and the phone will ring, and it's like, you won't, it's Paul, and of course I always pick up Paul calls, but you won't believe I just soldered the screws to the you know, I mean, it's like one thing after another. I'm like, Paul, I love the guitar, it's incredible, but still, you know, I really admire how you don't quit.
No.
You don't give up, you never give up.
Well, look, lunch today we discussed every old Les Paul, every Strat, all the Jazzmasters, Jaguars, Martins, early rare Gibsons. I mean, there's still this love for the teachers of my industry, right? And so I was only 2 years old in 1958, so I didn't get to compete at that time. This, you know, and still all these guitars are alive that my teachers built. So to me, I'm in the football game, you know, and to me, you know, if there's not, as an analogy, if there's not an interception or you don't make a good run or whatever, you're going to get beat. Yeah. Because the truth is, David, you could own any vintage guitar you want. You could be playing any vintage guitar you want. If all your vintage guitars were beating the DGTs that you had, you would be taking a different guitar out on to a gig. Musicians get frightened, just like everybody else, when they start to play, and they go for the instrument that makes them the most comfortable. And really, that was the goal of this guitar, to try to get you to be to be the most comfortable guitar that you had in your rig to be able to play that day at the session or at the gig or whenever.
Yeah, I mean, what I tried to do was take the best of all the PRSs that I had owned over the years, which is quite a few, and incorporate all the changes that have sort of built up in my memory bank over that period of time, and also through being in sessions with great session players, guys like Brent Mason, Troy Lancaster, Kenny Greenberg, guys in Nashville, who, when I would hand them the guitar that I've been playing for a while, which is not a PRS you could buy off the rack, they were like, well, if I could get this guitar, I would like to have one. So there's the element for me of having this wonderful instrument that I can count on all the time, but it's also really rewarding that other people seem to bond with it as well.
Well, I saw Troy at dinner, and there were 60 other guitar players that were in active Nashville touring and recording bands, and Troy said if he doesn't have his PRS with him, it's his cartage isn't complete. The guitars that he brings are complete, whereas 5 years ago, that wasn't the deal. I would say over half those guitar players are playing DGTs at this point. So in a way, we set a goal that would happen. I think it would help for this, for the goals of this video, is if we kind of went through all the different pieces on the guitar, because you were referring to, it was not just one thing, it was an amalgamation of parts, right? And I see the guitar as a circuit. I see the tuning pegs, the strings, the nut, the glues, the frets, the fretboard, the bridge, how it's attached to the body, the woods, the truss rod, and all back as a circuit for how the guitar sounds acoustically. And then you've got what are very sophisticated parametric equalizers going into a tank circuit coming out. All right, you know that. How much time did you spend on these pickups?
Well, I spent a year on those pickups.
Okay, so
I mean, for me, it was all about how does it sound. I mean, I can't articulate half in anywhere close to the terms but that's why I love you, because you can interpret what I want to hear.
Fair enough. So let's go back to what I said. What I said was these were microphones. You agree with that?
You said some kind of transducer thing in a tank circuit.
I said they're parametric equalizers, which you play with on your consoles all the time, right? Into a tank circuit. Now there's a term that's not normal. If you disconnect all this stuff, the pickups are way brighter. This thing has a very beautiful way of having the right amount of treble bled to ground, and we all talk about whether it be bubble beat capacitors or what value the pots are. All that has an impact on the tone of the pickups. That's what I was referring to. It was an electronic term. I shouldn't probably have used it, but in order to understand this stuff, I've had to get electronic teachers to teach me what I was playing with, and so I wasn't searching around in the dark on my hands and knees. I needed to understand truly what was going on when you changed a pot from 250K to 400K to 500K to 650 to 750. What happened when you changed the cap from a .022 to a .033 to a .049 to whatever. That stuff was really important because I didn't know what I was talking about. All I knew was I could solder different parts in. I wanted to understand the circuit so I wasn't crawling around in the dark looking for an answer. Right?
So that when crazy people like me call you at 11 o'clock at night, you have a chance.
Well, you got a crazy phone call from me about 3 weeks ago. And when I called David up, I said, well, you finally did it. And he said, what are you talking about? I said, you made the three-note club. Now, we have arguments constantly about what guitar players you know in three notes. You know, do you know Jimi Hendrix in three notes? Do you know Stevie Ray Vaughan in three notes? Do you know Eric Clapton in three notes, Jeff Beck? And the list is very short of who you, Carlos Santana is one person you absolutely know in three notes who it is, right? So, and I was telling David after the open house, there was absolutely no question that from the first note you knew David Grissom was playing. And I think I kind of stunned you when I called you because you didn't think that was really a goal that you'd had, but you'd refined your craft to a point where we thought from the outside you'd made that goal.
Well, I'm honored that you would say that. It's kind of hard to respond to that.
Well, in a way, you can't really respond to it. But the arguments at the dinner table about who makes the three-note club, and now from the gear slut's point of view, from all the guys that collect gear and make gear, is a very, very important conversation, right? And, you know, do you really know if Eric Clapton is him in three notes? I mean, that conversation's happened a lot, right? Jeff Beck has been pushing the envelope. Is it three notes or is it 10, right? Eric Johnson, three notes, you know, who is it? Who makes that club? It's a very short list. And
I can smell Jeff Beck coming from about 100 miles away.
I'm not going to say who makes the list, but I'm
Man,
starting to mention people that make the list.
yeah.
And Pat Metheny, there's a
No
huge
doubt.
number of
No
guitar
doubt.
players.
Yeah.